All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. Title of this video, When Buying the Dip Goes Wrong. So, markets gapped up today on a Monday. Light volume typically means you're going to have some upside, general upside bias. Also, first trading day of the month, which means a lot of pension funds and so on and so forth get a lot of money flow, new money from 401ks, stuff like that. So generally the first day of the month is an upside day, and they really took advantage of that, and they faded that new money as we gapped higher. And then we went to this gap fill. We found support here at gap fill from Friday's close, and then the dip was bought, and now that dip's being faded. So we're selling the rip here. And that is on the back of Fed President Waller saying that the Fed may announce some type of taper program as early as September. He announced that right around the 3 o'clock time frame, and that's when the market dipped. Now, if we look at the daily chart of the SPY here, if you remember back in June, what happened here? Remember, this was Bullard. Actually, it was on this Friday here, but we sold into it. But Bullard went on TV and was talking about taper talk and this and that, and that's what, the market sold off. And then the Fed, Powell walked it back Monday and Tuesday, and then the other Fed presidents chimed in and walked it back. But now my prediction is they'll probably walk this one back as well, but they'll walk it back a little bit less. And so that's essentially, so if they completely negate what he said this time, they'll negate most of what he said, but they'll leave the door open. Essentially, they'll walk it back a little bit less so. And that's basically their way of preparing the market for some type of taper talk or whatever they're going to do in the future, or just actual tapering. That's just my prediction, though. So another news here really quick. We'll check back in on spiders in a minute. But so Square had, they surprise announced earnings Sunday night. That thing squeezed hard. They did make a deal to buy Afterpay. Market obviously liked that. Their revenue increased by a ton. Now the issue here is 58% of Square's revenue now comes from Bitcoin, which is, these CEOs are getting really reckless. So basically, if Bitcoin flushes down to 20,000, Square is going to be in the hole for a ton. They're going to take a huge hit. These CEOs, Elon Musk and Tesla doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing that GM was doing in mid 2000s. If you remember, they were buying these credit loan companies. They're basically acting like an investment bank, and that sides as a car company. And you got Square, that's like a payment processing company, and they're basically acting like a trading desk. And same thing with Tesla. They're acting like a trading desk, pumping Doge and pumping crypto and doing all these other things. So just Square could be very vulnerable. I'll just say that. But let's see. So outside of that, we had the semiconductors. I want to point this out here, SMH. So we have potential topping tail here. Now you want to see a little bit more of a wick on the top side, but this is still a valid topping tail. You're at all-time highs. You gapped up. If this thing, they probably won't flush it down in the next 6 or 7 minutes, but if they do somehow close this negative or flat, that would be very, very bearish in the short term for the semiconductors. Would like to see a little bit more volume, but possible fake breakout there. So definitely keep an eye on that. The semis are a leading indicator, as are the transports, as we know, and transports reversing nicely today. So that looks like it may be headed lower. That's a pretty ugly candle there. You had this low pivot, put in a higher low, hit the 20 MA, and now you're kind of rejecting that. So if this takes out this pivot here, this may have to go down and take it on and test that 200 moving average in the near term. IWM, you can see here, gapped higher, had a nice little pop into the first hour, or first half hour really, faded that, and now finally making a lower low, though it held up fairly well compared to the spiders up until recently. So now IWM rolling over. Some of the plays that I'm in currently, Zoom actually holding up really well, positive on the day. Snowflake having a nice gain today, was up more than 1% at one point. Now just a 0.84, but still, you like to see your longs doing well in a down market when the market's weak. So Snowflake holding up, still love this pattern on the daily. Same thing with Zoom. Nice little test candle today. dipped down, hit that 50 MA, and popped right back up. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from those names so far. As far as crude is concerned, let's take a look here. So crude rolled over in the overnight, I believe. And yeah, so crude pulling back a little bit here. Finding a little bit of support at the 50 MA. Notice you had this pivot low here, so that's back testing, and that's holding for now. But we'll keep an eye on this. If crude breaks back lower, it's probably going to go right back down to this $66 and 65, 66.80 and change level, and really test that 100 MA again. So keep an eye on that for crude. Gold kind of having a bit of a pause here. As we look here, yep. So just a little bit of a pause day for gold, but again, holding up well in a down market, and GDX really doing kind of the same things. We talked about GDX in the weekend video on Wall Street for Main Street. And we're watching this very closely because this will be a leading indicator for gold. So now we've got about 4 minutes left in the trading day. So spiders look like they're going to close near the lows, although Q's getting a bit of a bid here. VXX having a really nice day. That's been pushing higher. That was actually calling the bluff earlier. If you notice, the VXX was barely negative in the first hour or so, whereas the spiders were much higher, and this is a pretty big gap up here. So the VXX was telling you that there was a little bit of underlying weakness, and maybe there was some smart money buying put protection or something of that nature. So volatility having a nice day here. We talked about the possibility of volatility making a lower low. It might not, and that's why I favored having some exposure to the VXX or whatever. If you trade VIX futures, nothing wrong with getting a little bit of exposure here. But I don't want to go all in here. I still have some exposure myself, but I think if the VIX is very tricky to trade. You don't want to get stuck into it. So, but in any case, VIX having a nice day. If the markets roll over here, then they roll over. And currently, I think that at least with my index shorts and my current VIX position, I'm more than happy to watch the markets roll over. I'd like to get the VIX cheaper if I can, but if not, I'm perfectly fine with that. So I've been building short positions for a while now. So again, nothing really terrible there. Tesla actually kind of holding the market up today for the most part, although that's kind of fading in as well. So Tesla, we talked about this trend line. If we gapped above 700, which we did, I said that we'd probably go right up here and back test this trend line. We have. That is holding for now. So if Tesla fades this trend line and the market rolls over, this thing's going to be vulnerable down to 550. So just keep that in mind here. He is outperforming just a little bit here in the final 10 minutes. Even with the lower yield today, yeah, that's the ugly move there on yields. So bonds flashing some warning signs here. All right, so markets look like they're about to close near the lows of the day. Although Q's getting a bit of a bid here, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. You guys take care. If anything happens that makes my analysis change or anything newsworthy comes out, I'll be updating on Twitter as usual. But anyway, guys, take care and have a great rest of your day.